Hello, and welcome to my QTP video tutorial, where I will show you how to call a function. In this video, I'll be covering the following topics. First, what does it mean to call a function? And second, how do I write the code to do it? And in that, I'll be showing you 4 examples. First is a function that has inputs and a return value. Second is a function that has a return value and no inputs. Third is a function that has inputs and no return value. And fourth, a function that has neither inputs nor a return value. As a reminder, to stay up to date with my latest videos, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button. This moves us to the first topic, which asks the question, what does it mean to call a function? You will commonly hear the phrase, call a function. To call a function simply means to execute the code that is within a specific function. Some functions have inputs and some do not. Some functions have output values and some do not. How you call a function will depend on whether a function does or does not have inputs and or output values. This now moves us to the second topic, which asks the question, how do I write the code to do it? I will now show you how to write the code in QTP to call a function. This now moves us to the first function that I'll be showing you, which has both inputs and a return value. And in this, it takes up lines 1 through 8 in my QTP script. The way that you call a function like this is to first type out the name of a variable. I have used the word return, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be anything you would like. Then hit the space bar to create a space. Then hit the equal sign. Then hit the space bar to create another space. Then enter the name of the function, which in our example is OpenBrowser1. Then type an open parentheses. You will now need to enter values for the function's inputs. To enter a value, you have lots of different options. For example, to send in an empty value, simply type 2 quotations. To send in a value as an integer, type in a number without using quotations. To send in a value as a string, type in a value within quotations. To have a variable's value sent in, enter the name of the variable. To have an environment variable's value sent in, you can type environment.value, open parentheses, open quotations, the name of the environment variable that you would like to retrieve, closing quotations, and a closing parentheses. As you can see, there are lots of different ways that you can pass inputs into a function. If there is more than one input in your function, after entering the first input, you would type a comma, then hit the space bar to create a space. You would then enter the second input. You would continue to repeat these steps until you have entered values for all of the function's inputs. Once you're finished with that, type a closing parentheses. You have now typed in everything you need to call a function that has both inputs and a return value. What would now happen if the function were to be called is that the code written within the body of the function would now be executed. As you can see here on line 4, we've set a return value out of the function to come out as a value of true. So after the function completed its run, it would assign a value into our return variable that we have here on line 7 as a value of true. This now moves us to the second example that I'll show you. And in this is a function that does not have inputs, but that does have a return value. And in my QTP script, this takes up lines 10 through 18. Let's now look at the first way to call this, and that's on line 16. I start off by entering a value that I'll use as my return variable. I have given it the word return, but you can call yours whatever you would like. It doesn't make a difference. Once you've typed in that variable name, hit the space bar to create a space, then type an equal sign, then hit the space bar to create another space. You then need to enter the name of the function that you would like to call, type an open parentheses, then a closing parentheses. And that's all you would need to do for it that way. The next way that you can call a function like this is on line 17. And as you can see, line 17 is identical to line 16, except that you do not need to type the open and closing parentheses that are at the end of line 16. You simply just need to reference the name of the function. This now moves us to the third function example that I'll show you. And in this example, this function has inputs and no return value. And in my QTP script, this takes up lines 20 through 27. Now there's two ways to call a function like this, so we'll begin by taking a look at line 25. So to begin in this example, you can type the word call, hit the space bar to create a space, then type in the name of the function that you would like to have executed. Then type an open parentheses, then enter all of the function's inputs that you need to enter, then type a closing parentheses. And that's all you need to do for that example. Now the second way that you can call a function like this is on line 26. And to begin, you would simply type in the name of the function, hit the space bar, and then enter the function's inputs just like what you have on line 25 and line 7. Except in this example, you do not need to use the opening and closing parentheses. This now moves us to the fourth function example that I'll be showing you. This function does not have inputs and it does not have a return value. And this takes up lines 29 through 38 in my QTP script. Let's begin looking at the first way to call a function like this, which is on line 34. You can begin by typing the word call, hitting the space bar to create a space, then type the name of the function, then type an open parentheses, and then a closing parentheses. And that's all you would need to do for that method. Now the second way that you can call a function like this is on line 35, and you'll see that line 35 is identical to line 34, except that the only thing that is different is you do not have to type in the opening and closing parentheses. This now moves us to the third way to call a function like this, which is on line 36. You'll see that all you need to do is type in the name of the function that you would like to call, then type an open parentheses, and then a closing parentheses. Then the fourth way that you can call a function like this is identical to line 36, except that you do not need to enter the open and closing parentheses. This now concludes our video where I have answered the following questions. First, what does it mean to call a function? And second, how do I write the code to do it? And in that, I showed you 4 different examples. First, I showed you how to call a function that has both inputs and a return value. Second, I showed you an example of a function that had a return value but no inputs. Third, I showed you a function that had inputs and no return value. And fourth, I showed you a function that did not have any inputs nor a return value. As a reminder, to stay up to date with my latest videos, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button. Thank you, and I hope that you have a great day.